What if you woke up to find a Hollywood legend, one many believed would outlast the very industry he helped define, suddenly declared dead under circumstances so unsettling that even seasoned investigators are at a loss? That's exactly what happened with Gene Hackman, the Oscar-winning actor who captivated audiences for decades and then slipped quietly into a peaceful life in Santa Fe. Now, the shocking discovery of his body alongside his wife's is sparking eerie questions that defy easy answers. Some wonder why there's a glaring gap in their time of death, and rumors swirl of ominous clues left in the home. But what truly sends shivers down everyone's spine is the claim his daughter will later reveal, that her father, at 95, was strangely fit and active right up until the very end. If he showed no signs of slowing down, then what really happened behind the closed doors of their secluded sanctuary? Stick around as we uncover the twisted details surrounding Hackman's final days. Because the deeper we dig, the more this case seems to defy logic. Word of Gene Hackman's death broke swiftly, leading fans worldwide to assume they'd simply lost a legend to old age. But local workers in Santa Fe, who discovered Hackman and his wife, paint a far different picture. They say days had gone by with no sign of the couple before they finally entered to check on a home maintenance issue. Inside, authorities were met with a scene that raised immediate red flags. There were no obvious marks of violence, no broken windows, no open doors. The couple appeared oddly serene, as though time had frozen. Still, something about the atmosphere unsettled the first responders. Official statements were terse, but they confirmed that Betsy's body showed signs of earlier death compared to Gene's, indicating a gap of possibly days. For the sheriff's office, that detail alone was enough to label the situation suspicious. Why hadn't Gene, who was famously close with his children and friends, called for help? Why had nobody in the neighborhood heard anything unusual? The home itself was so meticulously kept that it provided no immediate clues, leaving investigators to wonder if they were staring at a hidden medical catastrophe, an environmental factor, or something else entirely. As unsettling as the discovery was, the biggest puzzle lies in how their time of death diverged, and why no one noticed anything amiss. The timeline of their final days is the core puzzle. According to preliminary reports, Betsy may have died several days before Gene, based on decomposition and other forensic indicators. That alone is unusual enough, but factor in Gene Hackman's famously attentive nature, and the tragedy grows more perplexing. If Betsy's passing was abrupt, perhaps from a sudden health crisis, could Gene have been too overwhelmed to call for help? Or was he somehow prevented from doing so? Investigators found no forced entry and no suggestion of a stranger's involvement. Yet the notion of a healthy, active man simply failing to seek assistance for his wife seems out of character. Local law enforcement is exploring every angle, from medical issues to silent environmental risks, like a gas leak. For onlookers, these unanswered questions fuel speculation. Some propose that Gene was incapacitated by shock, confusion, or an undetected ailment. Others wonder whether a silent toxin could have claimed them both over a prolonged period. But until toxicology and full autopsy reports are back, all anyone can do is guess. The mismatch in their times of death has turned a seemingly straightforward loss into a harrowing riddle for both the family and the public. This riddle becomes even stranger when you consider Gene's robust lifestyle, a man whose health and vitality defied age. At 95, Gene Hackman wasn't just defying the odds, he seemed to be rewriting them. His daughter, Leslie, spoke passionately about how spry he remained, even in his mid-90s. He was known to practice yoga, take long walks, and keep his mind sharp through reading and woodworking. Old friends and former colleagues often marveled that he appeared healthier than some actors decades younger. Dennis Quaid, who stayed in touch with Hackman, vividly recalled speaking to him just days before the tragedy. He insisted Gene was his usual self, quick-witted, excited about a new woodcraft project, and brimming with a surprising energy for a man nearing 100. Family members echoed similar sentiments. If Gene had any major health concerns, he never shared them. On the contrary, his refusal to let age slow him down was almost legendary among those who knew him well. That's why, for so many, the narrative doesn't quite add up. Yes, Hackman was 95, and no one is immortal. But if he saw his wife suddenly in grave danger, one would expect him to act, or at least reach out. The absence of any distress call stands in stark contrast to the man people described, a disciplined, alert individual who valued each moment of life. To understand why Gene's final days took such a drastic turn, we must look at the woman who stood by him for over 3 decades, someone who played a vital role in his well-being. Betsy Arakawa wasn't famous in the way her husband was, but her life story was just as captivating. A classical pianist, she was known among friends for her elegant musicianship and her calm, gentle demeanor. When she first met Hackman in the early 80s, it seemed like an unlikely pairing, the Hollywood heavyweight and the reserved performer. Yet, by all accounts, it was precisely that difference that anchored their bond. Friends describe Betsy as the emotional bedrock of their household. She encouraged Gene to explore writing and painting after he stepped away from acting, helping him shift from the public eye to a more introspective life in Santa Fe. The couple's home became a kind of creative sanctuary filled with piano compositions, unfinished novels, and half-carved pieces of wood. Betsy was said to have championed a quieter, more authentic approach to living, away from industry glitz. If she was the foundation of Gene's serene post-Hollywood existence, her abrupt passing before him raises painful questions. Could Betsy have suffered a crisis so swift that Gene couldn't respond in time? Or is there another piece of the puzzle still undiscovered? For those who knew how deeply Gene relied on her emotional support, the idea that he would have simply done nothing in her hour of need is unthinkable. As investigators work to fill these gaps, one thing stands out: a handful of unexplained clues scattered around the house, fueling theories as wild as they are unsettling. Authorities have said little about the specific condition in which they found the Hackman home. Still, rumors abound from unnamed sources who claim evidence was uncovered that doesn't neatly fit any single explanation. Some talk about partially finished meals as though daily life had been interrupted with no warning. Others mention that mail was left unopened in a house known for its tidiness. The gap in time between Betsy's death and Gene's has led some to wonder if an odorless hazard like carbon monoxide could have been the culprit. Yet, typically, first responders check carbon monoxide levels immediately in suspicious deaths, and no public warning was issued. A few observers suggest an undisclosed medical condition, perhaps something that simultaneously weakened Gene's ability to respond while taking Betsy first. Another theory points to a possible prescription mishap, though that too is speculative without toxicology data. None of these ideas fully explain why a capable man known for his discipline would fail to notify anyone. As a result, the case has become a vortex of speculation, with local law enforcement officials reminding everyone that real investigations require time and patience. They emphasize that the final autopsy, toxicology results, and deeper analysis of the scene might uncover facts that differ starkly from the public's current theories. Through it all, Gene Hackman's family stands at the center of a storm, urging calm and respect until the complete truth emerges. Gene's daughter, Leslie, has stepped into the spotlight to represent the Hackman family's voice. Her emotional press statement conveyed profound grief tempered by frustration at the swirl of rumors. She requested patience, asking fans and media to let the authorities complete their work rather than fueling baseless theories. To Leslie and the rest of the Hackman family, the focus is on honoring the memory of a loving father and stepmother while navigating an unimaginable loss. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office remains tight-lipped, refusing to speculate on how or why the tragedy occurred. They've confirmed that autopsies are underway, with toxicology tests in progress. But the process can be lengthy. In cases involving a potential delay between deaths, certain evidence might be compromised. Investigators must sift carefully through medical records, phone logs, and any digital footprints that might clarify events. Support for the family has come from all corners. Fans have organized small vigils near the Hackman property, leaving flowers and messages of tribute. Meanwhile, medical and forensic experts across the country weigh in from a distance, noting that sometimes unusual timing in such cases can still have a medically straightforward explanation. Others hold out hope that once the final reports are published, the public will gain clarity, though no one can promise a tidy resolution to such a unique and unsettling situation. Even as we await answers, it's important to remember that Gene Hackman wasn't just a private individual, but a monumental presence in the world of cinema, with a legacy shaped by both triumphs and personal challenges. Gene Hackman's name will forever be woven into the fabric of Hollywood's greatest achievements. He brought an unmistakable authenticity to every part he played, from hardened lawmen to flawed anti-heroes. Critics raved that he never performed a role, he lived it. It's no surprise that filmmakers like Francis Ford Coppola considered him among the best actors of his generation, praising his ability to immerse himself completely in a character's psyche. Yet beneath the accolades lay a man often at odds with Hollywood's demands. Early in his career, some casting directors dismissed him for lacking traditional leading man looks. That initial rejection stoked a drive in him to excel. Over time, his unwavering pursuit of quality sometimes clashed with executives who preferred predictable formulas. By the time Hackman stepped away from acting in 2004, he had accrued 2 Oscars, numerous nominations, and a reputation as a steadfast professional, never one to chase celebrity for its own sake. His personal life mirrored that contrarian streak. Married twice before he met Betsy, Hackman kept much of his private world under wraps. He rarely granted interviews about family matters, preferring to speak through his work on screen. When he and Betsy migrated to Santa Fe, they effectively bowed out of Hollywood's daily grind, determined to forge a quieter path. Few people expected his final chapter to end in a riddle that defies easy explanation. The shockwaves are felt not just by film historians, but by everyone who admired how consistently he stayed true to himself. From the sets of classic films to the streets of Santa Fe, people are mourning and seeking any thread of understanding that might tie this tragedy together. For residents of Santa Fe, Gene and Betsy were more than celebrity transplants. They were active community members who supported local schools and arts programs. People recount seeing Gene chatting in hardware stores about woodworking projects or spotting Betsy volunteering her musical talents at local events. This approachable presence turned them into cherished neighbors rather than distant Hollywood figures. So, when the disturbing news broke, the community felt the loss on a personal level. A spontaneous memorial popped up outside their home, adorned with flowers and heartfelt notes thanking the couple for their kindness. It served as a poignant reminder that behind the fame and accolades, the Hackmans were people who cared deeply about their adopted hometown. Hollywood, meanwhile, has been equally rattled. The tributes from co-stars and directors flood social media, each recalling Hackman's warmth, professionalism, or incisive humor on set. Yet, underneath the respect and admiration lies a collective sense of disbelief. How could a legendary figure known for his proactive attitude and robust health slip away in such a confounding manner? For the time being, an entire industry pays its respects while grappling with the realization that even its giants are vulnerable to life's unpredictable turns. As we reach the end of this story, we must acknowledge that some answers may never be fully revealed. But one thing remains certain: Gene Hackman leaves behind a legacy that transcends the circumstances of his final days. Gene Hackman's passing, alongside the death of his beloved Betsy Arakawa, has done more than steal a Hollywood icon. It's reminded us that the face of celebrity can hide the same fragility present in any human life. Despite their resources, their friendships, and their careful retreat from the public eye, the couple met an end that is, so far, wrapped in confusion and unanswered questions. As investigators continue their painstaking work, we can only reflect on the aspects of their lives that were clear: a deep devotion between two people, a legacy of cinematic brilliance, and a quiet generosity that enriched the community around them. Perhaps the final reports will shed light on the how and why of this tragedy. Or perhaps, in a world that craves tidy explanations, we'll have to accept an outcome that isn't entirely satisfying. In the meantime, fans and friends can honor Gene Hackman by revisiting his iconic performances, those timeless characters who spoke truths about the human condition. We can also pay tribute to Betsy's memory by recognizing her dedication to the arts and her role in nurturing Gene's creativity. Together, their story underscores that life's final act is rarely as neat as the endings we see in films. It's a reminder to cherish the moments we have, respect the mysteries we can't control, and share compassion for a family left to grieve under a global spotlight.